Okay.
And can I have a copy of the agenda?
Oh,
Yeah, there's one right there.
oh,
There's one
that's
right
that.
there.
Okay.
I put one at these secretaries, bring it anyway. Okay, because we've got the meeting called to order, roll call, pledge of allegiance. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
Yes, C.L. Peterson moves that we approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, do we have any citizens to address the board? I see none present. There are no citizens to address the board. Okay, discussion, action item number one. There were no minutes from the last meeting due to it being canceled. It was canceled for a lack of quorum. Okay, the city attorney update on Article 3.
I don't seem to have that.
We don't,
Okay, so she hasn't provided that yet?
no,
Okay.
so we don't have that update. I did get an email from Fran with some update, but I haven't had a chance to print it, go over it, and look at everything in it right yet. Okay, just such, two, 07 judge qualifications. Sean and I were working on that. He and I haven't had a chance to meet and do a lot of discussion with it. From what I've found, it's gonna be very difficult to come up with a definitive list. Because every time, well, it's gotta be this, wait a minute, that does this. It interferes with about 20 different things. That's one of those things that you look at, well, that'd be easy to do. But, you know, in today's climate, so we're still working on that. Discussion, action, 208, investigations. And that's this document that you guys have presented.
Yeah.
Okay. The governing body may make an investigation in the affairs of the city of Grants or the conduct of any city of Grants department, office, agency, board, or any city activity upon the request of a resident of the city of Grants and or a public vote by the governing body. So, should that be a slash? Or should it just say and a public vote by the governing body?
No, because you could just, you don't have to have, necessarily have to have a resident. You could just have the governing body do
Okay.
it. That's what I'm, you know,
Okay, right. So the governing body could decide to.
on their own,
On their own,
without a citizen.
okay,
But if a citizen does, then you absolutely have to have the governing body. Okay,
okay, public vote by the governing body of the city. To this end, the city of Grants must provide for the individuals or programs under investigation the due process of law, which means,
well, I mean, you right to an attorney and so on and so forth, the right to a speedy trial, have all that stuff, but the main thing is the right to an attorney. That's the one concern I have.
does the city have to provide the attorney?
That's what I mean, does the city have to provide it, or can the individual go out and get their own, and then the city has to compensate? I don't know.
Okay, so,
That would be, and if it's a court-appointed attorney, they're the damn court. You know, essentially.
yeah, but this has nothing to do with the court, this is with the city. I don't see how,
Well, that's the one thing the attorney was talking about. The attorney was saying, hey, there's nothing in there about due process.
if, okay, I'm trying to think of an example that would make sense. Okay, let's have down the road, I hit a pothole, okay, damaged my car, okay? It's been reported 2 or 3 times, this pothole's there, it hasn't been fixed, and then I decide,
Pictures have been taken.
huh?
Pictures have been taken.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards, and then I decide, I want to have the road department investigated for not fixing.
Mhm.
All right, so the city would have to provide an attorney for the road department?
If necessary. If there's gonna be, if you're talking about providing due process of law, again, I mean, they're talking here about submitting oaths, taking testimony, and requiring a production of evidence. And then if it doesn't happen, it's a misdemeanor punishable by a fine established. So you're talking about basically it's not just saying, hey, road department, you just gotta get your act together and fill up that pothole. I mean, there might be the possibility of some penalty involved. And it doesn't
But then
say,
that implies a time element.
it doesn't state in there either, if any other penalties out there besides refusing to obey a lawful order. Or would that have the citizen have to take it to a local municipal court to solve the issue? So let's say it was damage to your car.
But sometimes that's dealt under, what is it?
It's called a tort claim against the city.
Yeah, but again, here you're talking about, so what happens if they investigate it and they say, so what?
Does the individual, wouldn't they have the right to take it to a court that deals with minor,
Yeah.
under,
Yeah,
what
under
is it, under
$500 or
$1,000
whatever,
or something?
$1,000, whatever, yeah.
Yeah,
Again, but I mean, they're talking here like it's a regular court proceeding.
yeah.
And that's why I said later on there that they can subpoena witnesses for the issue, but in a public forum, they have to administer the oaths, take testimony, and require the production of evidence.
Well, then, in the
Okay, so
back,
if I would come up and say, okay, back to the pothole deal, just,
Hmm?
would the city have to provide me an attorney?
well, that's what I'm thinking in the back of my mind while we've been talking, is could we overcome that by saying the entity or the individual may bring representation if they so,
Well, that's where
So-
the due process of law
Yeah,
is there.
yeah.
right.
But again, if you go back to the first sentence, it talks about the affairs of the city of Grant and the conduct of a city grants department officer, because the conduct might might end up having a person terminated.
yeah.
And the board or any city activity. So, I mean, it could be all sorts of legal ramifications there.
I
Now,
think we need to
how,
look up what a tort claim is. I'm trying to remember, a few years ago, there was an incident where there was some being street work done, the barricade was set up, and it was set out in the traffic lane, and the car hit it. And they sued the city, they filed a tort claim, and their vehicle was paid for.
Now, that's outside of this. That would be in the regular courts, and it would be a
No, the tort claim didn't go to, they came straight to the city.
city council?
Yeah. And I'm not sure about the city council, I don't remember all the details, but it was investigated. Maybe they had to go through court because the Grants Police Department is involved with that one.
I'm saying it's something like that, but
Yeah,
again,
that's a court.
again, one of the things also is we could sit here and we could expand this thing to cover all those, and just like you were talking about on 207, that you're going crazy
Yeah,
with, I mean, you could do the same thing here. And one of the things you have to do is you have to try and keep it as simple, keep it simple, stupid,
yeah, just principle.
no,
And that's what I was trying to do, what I'm trying to do here. But again, even with this, I still find some issues that,
well, in my case where they kicked me off the golf board, advisory board, they gave me an a hearing basically.
yeah.
And I was allowed to bring in Dick Griffith to vouch for what I said. and clarify any things that they had. And they had the other person wasn't there. And Dawn represented her, and then I left, okay? And they made their decisions and stuff like that. Well, at that point, I was almost like an employee. I was a part of the system, right? And so they made the ruling, their ruling stood, and I didn't have any grievance towards it, I said, matter of fact, I said, thank you. But what I guess I'm trying to get at is that if it's all internal, then if it becomes something that an individual then is going to be terminated on it, when they have the right to ask for a review in terms of their own personal.
That would be due process.
Well,
Yeah,
if it's internal, that would go through HR, that would go to the state labor board.
right, so,
If you're an official, say you're an employee of the golf course,
right,
and this incident happened,
right,
then you can file a grievance with the state labor board.
that's right, that's
So
right.
you've got due process there.
So you've got due process in terms of the program, because it's not saying that the city has the right to investigate a citizen who's not an employee
Right.
or part of a board. So I don't know, are we trying to read too much into it?
And that may be, it needs to be set up so, if one of the elected officials, I don't know, does something, whatever,
Okay,
then a citizen can come up and say, hey, so-and-so was elected, so-and-so did this. Let's say an elected official used his position to make money,
right,
which is against the charter.
right,
And I see this and I come up, there has to be a mechanism where I can say, this needs to be investigated because.
right,
Now, again, you're talking about an individual now.
Yeah.
This stuff here, it says the city grants department, office, agency, board, or any city activity. I'm sorry, it's probably gonna be one person on the board, one person on an agency, one person on in an office that is doing the misdeed.
okay, so.
It's just that they're using those terms
Yes.
to describe. So, you're still talking about primarily
So you see
focusing
it as
in.
an individual in doing the action
Yeah.
that needs to be investigated.
And I'm
Okay.
also curious, I'm not sure exactly how you phrased it just recently, but you said that you provided testimony, somebody else came in and testified for you, and then the other person, I guess, is the one who was charged, or was,
Who wanted me removed. yeah.
but they had somebody representing them,
Yeah,
and they weren't there. No, you're entitled to confront the witnesses against you. I'm sorry, that's due process of law.
Yeah.
That person cannot be using somebody else and it's those types of things
yeah,
that I'm talking about that are here.
I don't think there's a citywide thing. Now, like in the senior citizen board, we had an incident where we had to ask an individual not to come back again.
yeah,
And how was this? The director, with advice from the city, made the decision. The individual filed a grievance,
yeah,
and so we had to have an appeal hearing.
yeah,
But it's written, everything is written out.
yeah,
If this happens, you file an appeal, 3 individuals from the advisory council will hold the appeal court. The individual comes, then the advisory council makes a decision.
But again, that also means that the person will be entitled to due process of law.
Right.
They could bring their own people to testify, they could have their own witness, they have to be confronted by the individuals
Yes.
who are saying that you're being
And now
bounced
all that was written out,
Okay,
and it was followed to the letter.
okay,
We made a decision that the director really didn't like, but the director accepted.
okay, but again, you have that written out, and that's the due
Yes.
process of law. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know if all the committees, agencies, boards, or the conduct or any activity of the city would be covered under.
No, because that was specific.
That was
to one-
specific to that one committee.
yeah. So, what
But
are
now
your
what
thoughts
was-
about how do what is your thinking about how do we clarify this to?
Again, if you want to, you could clarify it and it end up being this full page, maybe even more. I don't know if you want to go that route.
No, the KISS principle needs to apply.
So why
Yeah.
don't we turn this over to the attorney and let her look at it and
Send this to her as is?
as
And say,
is,
what
and
do you
then
think?
make
Yeah.
comment. We need
Okay.
some help here.
All right,
Because again, you know, you could add on and add on and add on and add on, ad infinitum, and always, and just like you were saying about 207, about the requirements for the
Yeah.
office,
mhm.
it just goes crazy. But you have to be able to have some semblance of interpretation there.
Right, and that saved us in this other instance, because we had something written down.
And again, if you have it written down, you're locked into that, no matter
Yes.
what, no matter what.
Right.
And there's no way that you can
Right.
get around it if need be.
When we got together, I wrote the question, who provides the attorney?
Yeah.
And majority vote?
Well, it has to be a majority vote of the governing board.
Yes,
Uh,
it's been a majority vote.
And not just simply a majority vote of the quorum. That might be there, it has to be a majority vote of the.
Well, that would be covered under the governing body.
And again, is there, at the end, is there an ordinance
No.
that says, shall be a petty misdemeanor punishable by a fine established by the,
I don't think there
by a
is.
city of Grants ordinance?
I don't think it is.
Is there a Grants ordinance that talks about it as a, and,
But remember, ordinances don't have to be in the charter, so we would.
yeah, I know, but it's stated here that
Right.
there's an ordinance that
We'd have to read
establishes a fine.
Right, so maybe we should ask Fran. Should we ask Fran if there's an ordinance for that?
I think what we said, let's just submit this to the attorney.
Right,
She will know which question to answer. She will know if there's something somewhere else.
okay. Should we, in our request, should we say, is there an ordinance?
Well, I have that at the very
Yeah,
end.
it's already in there.
Oh, no, but is there an existing ordinance? To the lawyer to say, can you verify that? Can you verify that there is an ordinance?
Or provide us with a copy.
Yeah. Okay,
That's a good idea, if you could get a copy if there is.
Yeah.
And again, you know, where I highlighted the affairs, conduct, and activity, I just, you know, curious as to, you know, if you need all three of those like that. Is there a distinction between affairs, conduct, and activity? I don't know. That's just something that,
okay.
The problem, well, I like the idea of it in a public forum, but if the quote, possible misdeed involves an employee, that can't be done in a public forum.
well, if you're challenging the individual, okay? If this is the process you established here at the very beginning, okay? That the city board will have that opportunity, yeah, you're entitled to a public trial, to a public hearing on the issue.
And I guess that would depend on what they find, because if it turns into a violation of their work agreement or their work parameters, that would be an HR issue. And you don't do HR in a public forum.
That's right, you have to go into a closed session.
Exactly,
Right.
closed session to deal with. But it would have to be, you know, brought, like at a city council meeting, you know, this is what, this is what it is, we're going to closed session and come out with a decision.
Well, let's take it then, because I think there was a situation where a citizen had complained that one of the workers out at the golf course was smoking marijuana on the job. And when they brought it to the city council, they went into closed session, they talked to him, and I don't know whether the person who was making the complaint was there or not, but it was agreed that he would resign, or they
Right.
terminated him.
Right,
But they did not have that discussion out in the open.
right, because it, you know,
But again, that individual should have the due process of law, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's facing an accusation from somebody,
Right.
and that person is not coming to the hearing, okay?
Right,
And, you know, that person could sit there, even if it's an HR issue, he could sit there and say, no, I want this discussed in public. I want the individual who is saying that I was doing this to come out. Now, again, he might have been guilty of smoking, and he decided, well, I don't wanna, worry about that anymore. But somebody could sit there and say, hey, you're denying me my rights. I have the right to confront the,
Yeah,
you have to come up with the, you have to administrate oaths, you have to take testimony. That has to be jotted down, it just can't be
Right.
just not put into,
Okay,
Right, they have the right to face your accuser, but at the same time, if they had the meeting and they just said, okay, yeah, I know what's happened, I'll just go away and leave it alone.
yeah,
no, that's a possibility.
As opposed to making a
But but
criminal case out of it and then getting that on your record.
But on a criminal case, a person can say, yeah, I did it, okay, and that's it, and then just put the person, sentence the person, and that's it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a possibility, so, but if the person decides they wanna challenge it,
right.
they have to have these,
right. Okay,
So if
I
it's got
would assume so.
So if we put the due process in here, then that would give them to, all right, wait a minute, I need my accuser present.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or, no, if you think I really did this, then file criminal charges.
And it says that they can subpoena witnesses. One of the aspects of due process is if the prosecution can subpoena witnesses, I have the right, if necessary, to subpoena
Yes.
witnesses on my behalf.
Mhm.
So that.
so
Perfect, said
could
too.
you clarify that by, or the conduct of any City of Grants department, office, agency, board, or individual?
Okay,
Okay, would that resolve what you're saying? If we inserted individual after board?
Not necessarily, because if you're an employee of the city of Grants and you do something, you're acting under the guise of that board. In like the potholes, the highway department. A guy was spent out to fill the pothole and he didn't.
But,
And I damaged my car.
right, but Tom's assumption is that there would be an individual that would, in many of the cases, be responsible for the
the bad
the
actions,
violation.
the bad actions or violation.
The violation. So if it's an individual that's being looked at because of any of these things, then it would have to be an investigation, and then due process for the individual would be covered, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure,
but even the program
yeah,
should have due process too.
yeah.
Just can't sit there and say, hey, the street department is lax in doing their things. They have
So
the
do
right.
we want to insert individual?
I don't know.
I don't see a point because you pretty well covered everything in the city. And if the guy in the highway department who's supposed to fill a pothole in and didn't, he's not acting as an individual, he's acting under the direction
Of the board.
of the board
Yeah.
or department or whatever it
Department,
is.
yes.
But what if he was told to go and fill it in and he didn't?
There'd have to be paper proof.
Well, the board's still responsible.
Even a person who told him to go fill it up, if he didn't fill it up, that person's still responsible because he's supposed to follow up to make sure it did
Exactly.
get filled up.
Exactly. The
Okay.
department would be responsible no matter what the individual did.
Okay, so then we're just discussing then entities and not individuals.
Can be,
Even
can be
though an
both.
indi- Even though an individual might be eventually found to be negligent in not fulfilling their duties,
But still the department's responsible.
but that's an HR problem,
Yeah,
not.
exactly. But the department is still responsible.
Right, okay, all right,
If I tell you to go do something, you don't do it, I'm responsible for it.
okay.
And I also was under the impression that the attorney was talking about that in this section, that the idea of due process was not in there. That was the impression that I had.
She didn't want it in there, or
No,
it
that
wasn't in there?
it wasn't in there.
It's not in there.
Yeah,
So-
I know,
so-
that's what the,
So adding this in here,
yeah.
now it doesn't exactly define due process, but that's pretty standard.
Comments,
That's
same as
probably,
above.
Yeah,
that's probably listed under state law. Due process includes, representation, legal representation.
This on two comments.
This is 208.
This is the governing body to adopt an ordinance which prescribes the procedure
Okay.
for investigations.
Because she's thrown it back to 207, and comments, see comments about, any removal procedure should follow a procedure which provides for due process to the individual to be removed, and recommending removing this language here. Okay, JNQ6. So it's dealing with JQ in 6. Okay.
I'd say let's send this to her and see what we get.
Okay, because it seems like it's involving comments previous in
Yeah.
2.06 and 2.07.
Right. Because it does show how an investigation would start. Somebody requested, either an individual or the board. You know, the governing body.
And even if it's the individual, the board still has to okay.
Exactly. So it has to go to the governing body anyway. Must provide the individuals the due process, right. So if you're gonna accuse me of something. get
Even if
me-
it's the department.
Yeah,
If I'm the head of the department and somebody accuses my department of doing something
Yeah.
wrong, I might be pissed if I feel my department's doing everything's right.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna want due process to prove I'm right,
Yeah.
you know.
All right, so what I've got written down for the minutes, it's move to give new wording of 2.08 to lawyer to review and make suggestions. Can the lawyer provide a copy of the mentioned ordinance? Is-
Yes.
So is that
Good.
sufficient for
Yeah,
what
that's
we've
good.
done?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
all right. Okay,
That sounds like a plan.
all right.
Okay, so we'll table
3 and 4.
2 and 3 are tabled.
And 4 is being
It's done. Right.
recommended to go to the
Right.
lawyer.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
something like tear it apart.
Well, I mean, if she looks at that,
Yeah, that's
and,
okay. That's
and like
what
she
we
said
do.
before, I see what you want, here's a better way of doing it,
Yeah,
which is what we're after,
Yeah.
right.
you know?
We just want clarification.
Yeah, I'm not too
To
sure,
the charter, not necessarily to
Yeah.
each individual.
but it adds the elements, due process, how to start an investigation, which are 2 things we were talking about.
Yeah.
So I think, she can look at it and see where we're at, and go from there. Okay, we go to number 4.
We already did that.
Okay, number 5, action city department charter input.
We haven't gotten any city departments that have asked to put input, have we?
No,
And this was supposedly the last day, wasn't it?
yeah,
That we were gonna allow them to participate?
right, so that's
I
done.
wouldn't know if Fred would have gotten that issue.
Well,
The
she
friend
will
came
reach
in,
it.
about 2 meetings ago, and went over a couple of things
Yeah,
that she thought, and that's pretty well been it, so.
yeah.
I say we can take that one off,
Okay, so 5,
it's complete.
no input
Right.
/ complete.
Okay, comments? I think this is a good starting point on that, and I'm sure
I hope so.
the legal department, we'll make some suggested changes, but that's fine. You know, that's a good starting point. It puts the 2 elements we're looking for in there, so we're good to go. And, Sean and I will try to get everything ready for the next meeting. Is the 30th gonna work okay for everybody?
For me, yeah,
I'm gonna hit the holiday season.
that's
and
the week
it's-
after Thanksgiving, so.
Yeah.
It's not on Thanksgiving, so that's fine.
It could have been on Thanksgiving. I have, my wife and I are very simple. We
To be honest with you, it wouldn't bother me
yeah,
much
I mean,
either.
what do we do with the rest of the 16 hours on that day, you
I hope it's nice, if it's nice weather like today, we'll probably take a hike.
know? Yeah, no, I'm teasing,
Yeah.
but,
No, we don't, since the kids are gone, we don't get into
my kids
holidays
are
anyway,
in
so.
British Columbia and Seattle and Portland, so, I mean, that kind of.
Yeah, my family's Chicago and Baltimore area.
My daughter's in Scottsdale, she just got married. Her and her fiance decided, we're going to Las Vegas to get married. Next thing we know, we get wedding pictures.
Well, that saved you a lot.
That was my thought, I didn't say that around my wife though.
You're back there saying, thank you, sir, thank you.
I hate to tell you, you just did. Over the
Yeah,
lake.
and she's probably watching it.
Yeah.
No, so November 3 PM. Anything
30th.
else? A motion to adjourn?
I motion.
All right, I'll second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.
Boy, that was a quick one.
Seth, have you started your lessons? Walter?
Have I started what?
Your lessons?
No, I have not. I've been dealing with tire issues.
Yes, I know.
I talked to a couple of different people about this ranked choice, and everybody keeps saying, we'll get back with you.
Yeah,
But the election is just over.
Yeah.
The clerk's office they were pretty well swamped.
yeah. I did go to the county clerk after all the elections and stuff and volunteered to do absenteeism ballots, to review them, to see if they're, whatever, you know. They
You
filled
voted on the
out
absentee board?
Yeah, I said I can do whatever they want me to work the absentee ballots to see if they filled out all the paperwork properly, or to serve on the board, one or the other.
Okay.
Okay,
Now, I
Why,
thought there were
if you-
two of you that were going to go to,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what,
that-
kind of what it is. If you want to serve on the absentee board, okay, I'm the presiding judge for 18 years now.
okay,
And we're gonna need at least 2 to 3 new members next election.
Well, I'll serve on it, if
Right
that's
now,
what you
we've
want.
got, we had 4 this last election, we're gonna need at least 5 or 6.
Now, do you actually work the ballots also?
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm willing to do anything.
What the absentee board is, any absentee ballots, we verify them,
Yeah.
we count them, all the early voting machines, we close out all the early voting machines,
Mhm.
certify all of that count.
Okay,
Now, the next election, more than likely, is gonna involve anywhere from 2 to 5 days.
okay, that's fine. I can do that.
Normally, it's 1 day. The last runoff we had, I think it was 4 days. I've got a pretty tight board. We had one election where somebody in the clerk's office made a mistake, and I made some enemies. I told the county clerk, Michelle, you tell your people to stay out of my way.
Mhm.
And she did,
Yeah,
and we got her done.
yeah.
That's the year that the Dominion Software is under fire?
no, that's been resolved.
No.
From what I heard, it
Yeah,
has
my
been. Now there's another company
Yes.
that's suing.
That's a nice
No,
color.
that's
I know, that's why I want it back.
I think that was all resolved.
But anyway, that was the year that the Dominion Software was, all the accusations were made, so during that recount, we had the Attorney General, Secretary of State, Dominion Software, and about 9 other people I never heard of
Yeah,
breathing down their necks.
yeah.
And everybody left out there smiling.
Well, see,
No,
I
think it's a good
don't
thing.
feel intimidated by anybody. And so I volunteered because I felt like if people are under threat by just other people, I said, that doesn't bother me at all.
I don't
I've
get,
never- I don't, it doesn't bother
And
me.
you're from Georgia.
Yeah,
now, one year we had, we had several watchers and challengers.
yeah,
Actually, we had the chairman of the Democrat committee come in,
right,
and several other people. They were, well, I don't think they were there for the right reason, but they were
Right.
there.
yeah.
And so I made a concerted effort.
Mhm.
I said, and I told them when we started, I said, when we walk out of here, everything will be done proper.
Yeah,
And they were like, oh, yeah. And they walked out of there, everything was done proper.
well,
And so this next election, there's gonna be a bear.
I figured we're gonna have difficulty getting people to do that,
Oh, we always do.
yeah.
But if you wanna be on the absentee board,
No,
it could get intense.
Yeah.
And once we go in, now, the state law says we cannot work past 11 PM.
but aren't there small things like you can't get within 6 feet of a person? I mean, they can't be sitting there looking right over your shoulder.
No, we have designated areas.
Areas, right.
They have designated
And so,
areas.
they can't be jeering you while you're trying to do your work.
No, anytime, if
And
you're
I'm not afraid to say, please stay in the area that you're in.
Right.
Please, you're disrupting, and if you do it again, I'm gonna have to ask that you be
No,
removed.
as presiding judge, I have the right to
Remove
request the
them.
county sheriff to come and remove anybody.
That's right, that's right.
Are the absentee votes counted
before,
No, they're county election day.
oh, they are
Now, what's
counting?
gonna be, now, because we're a small county, there's not that many. Like in Bernalillo, they may start a week before the election counting the
Okay.
absentee and the early vote. Now, this next election, and I'm praying this is true, I'm praying we have enough people to vote that we will have to start 2 or 3 days early to count it.
Mm.
Yeah. We're-
It's amazing how few people. Anyway, so that's a good thing. Does everybody know about the community dinner Saturday?
Yeah, with the Rotarians,
Yeah,
yeah,
out the, Knights of Columbus.
yeah.
Knights of Columbus, okay.
It'd be a good,
I'll probably bring a donation when I get there.
yeah, we'll have a box set up outside.
But,
We'll have a box set up, inside.
okay,
It's a Rotary Club, I think 6 churches and about 7 or 8 businesses.
okay.
It's,
So the minutes, I just make copies like Sean did and bring them, or do I give you the copies? or do I
why don't you give me a
Fran?
copy and make sure Fran gets a copy? Fran gets a copy of the minutes, plus that thing that we want her to send to the lawyer.
Right,
That right
okay.
there,
I've got that,
yeah.
okay. So there's some place
I can give these out the next time when they.
Uh, How soon do you think you can get those to her?
I'll see if I can't do it tomorrow morning.